I'll tell you a little story actually. I was born in Jamaica, but funny enough, as a youngster, probably from about age 8, I probably knew more about Lords than probably any English kids here.
I loved playing here in Test matches. I had a really good record playing here in Test matches, funnily enough, and that always helps.
One of my favourite stories in that book, when about age 8, was Calypso Come to Lords. And I didn't realise I was just there creating or painting a picture of Lords.
But I think just the sense of occasion every time was what made it very, very special.
When you rock up here as a player, you have a look at the honours board, you come through the members' lounge, you know, it's certainly a place where you want to do well.
The more I learned about cricketing history, you know, when I got into my teens, I learned about the honours board. And it's something that I've always wanted to achieve.
It's a special place. I mean, you know, there's just so much history that goes. The crowds are always, you know, in the game and really supporting good cricket. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's probably the ultimate. You know, when we talk about cricket, it's the absolute pinnacle when we talk about Test cricket.
And the story Calypso Comes to Lords, that was when the West Indies won their first Test match in England, 1950s. The 1950 here at Lords, and they were talking about the jubilation, the celebration and all that business. So my teacher always said, Dev, you know, we move on, we've gone to chapter 10, chapter 15, well, you're still on chapter 8, Calypso Come to Lords, why is that? And I said, I was just trying to fix. I said, I do not know, but I just can't move. I just love the story so much.
Yeah, the West Indies, certainly when I was growing up, was very impactful. Initially in the Caribbean, we would watch films of the great West Indian teams in the 60s.
Brian is sort of the modern day master for me, and I was lucky enough to play against him on many occasions. I even got him out twice playing for Surrey, Warwickshire. Another one of those things, forget the hundreds. I got Lara out twice in one game. He's just one of the greatest players I ever saw.
I was spearheading the attack against the mighty West Indies. You know, you got guys like Greenwich, Haynes open the batting, you had Carl Hooper, absolutely fantastic batsman coming in there, and the great Sir Vivian Richards coming at number 4.
He was so good. You know, if you could dream of being anything, it would be being able to play as well as Brian Lara.
For myself, I would have seen the likes of Curtly Ambrose, Courtney Walsh, Brian Lara, and that has been, you know, sort of our cricketing heroes, you know, sort of growing up.
Having arrived in England in 1967 and then at Lords in 1970-71 as a MCC young professional player, by the time the World Cup came around in 75, I was by that time a Middlesex player, having joined Middlesex in 1972. So I was able to see certainly all three of those World Cups here, 75, 79 and 83. And obviously the players that played in those first 2 World Cups were household names in West Indies cricket.
But when they come and they have a test series, you know, in England, you know, you get up 6 o'clock in the morning because it starts at 11 at home before you go to school. Sometimes you're fake that you're sick just to be able to stay home and, you know, watch these guys play. So getting the opportunity to not only play in the grounds that they have played, but understanding what they have achieved as cricketers is absolutely amazing.
I mean, someone like Clive Lloyd, who really has been the father of modern day West Indies cricket. I mean, as captain, you know, he was a phenomenal captain, great leader of men.
He got it in no uncertain terms. Beautiful flashing cover drive, typical of the man. The bat raised, the crowd on their feet, and what a delightful exhibition this has been by Clive Lloyd. You couldn't really wish to see a better 100 than that in any form of cricket. 100 made out of 190 for 3, and the whole of Lords on their feet applauding this man.
You know, he was able to unite the West Indies team in the 70s and 80s to the point where I think in his entire career he only used, I think it was 10-15 year period, he only used 19 players. So that tells you about the quality of his captaincy. And yeah, I got to know Clive very well, and you know, he was very, very supportive and would always give you good advice.
With the trophy in his hand, beckoning to Clive Lloyd to come up and receive it. And it goes to this magnificent cricketer, and how well he and his team have deserved it.
And Clive Lloyd simply had to be named the man of the match. There could be no doubt about it at all.
And Viv, you know, again, I was only 4 years old in 1976 when he made, you know, all those runs, 900 runs or whatever it was against England in that series. His manner and and the way that he played was kind of indelibly inked upon my consciousness.
Yes, that's going to be it. It's going to be his 100. A fine 100 for Richards off only 130 balls. With only 7 overs to go, Richards attacks everything.
In fact, the entire West Indian team of that era, from '76 onwards, was that these guys were kind of supermen. You know, they seemed to play cricket at a level that was completely different from the way that we were taught it and the way that we played it here in England. And there was something inherently, I don't know, sexy about that. They seemed slightly otherworldly.
One of my schoolboy heroes there was Michael Holding. You know, used to hear the commentators speaking about Michael Holding, and they normally describe him as a guy running in from the boundary, whispering that ball the speed of light. So as a youngster growing up, I normally tried to run in, listen to what the commentators said, and basically running a lot faster than I used to bowl. But I heard Michael Holding normally come off a long run, so that's what I did. Yeah, Malcolm Marshall was a genius of a fast bowler. He could bowl quickly, he could hit you on the head if you want, but he also could swing the ball both ways. And he was such a great thinker of cricket, you know, and he'd taken a hell of a lot of wickets. A short man, but my God, he had some taste.
There it is.
One of West Indies' best fast bowlers. He could generate some serious pace and bounce, whippy action, yeah. And you know, you learn a lot from those guys, watching them bowl over the years.
When I play a bad shot, I'm more afraid of my dad than even my coaches. But looking to international West Indies cricketers, obviously being as tall as I am, someone I looked up to was Curtly Ambrose. As soon as I started to pick up the ball, just admiring how he hit a consistent length was real difficult to play.
Clean bowled. These guys are just too good for England. It's as simple as that.
I just think he'd be that person in white ball cricket who'd open a new ball, then come in the middle and just be real uncomfortable to face, as he did with the red ball with success.
One of the most intimidating things is probably coming down in the same hotel, going up to your room, or coming down to breakfast, and you get in a lift and there's probably Ambrose and Walsh there, and there could be Bishop, but they say no, not a word, and it would just psych you out. And you know, I didn't even realize, you know, guys like Curtly Ambrose, what a joker he was, or how humorous he was. But he never said a word, just walking, you look the other way and he's up there and you keep saying, no eye contact here, because those guys were lethal.
I suppose one of the disappointing things is that you had these men from the Caribbean, the Caribbean islands. I'd never been there, not until I toured there first in 1997. You had these men who were undoubtedly, undisputed, the best cricketers on the planet, and that team was the best for somewhere close to 20 years. And yet there was always this kind of feeling, particularly with the black guys that were playing cricket for the counties that were English, that somehow they didn't understand the game as well as their white counterparts. It was a stark prejudice, and it was there. And again, I didn't really understand that at the time, but I understand it perfectly well now. The idea that these guys, the West Indians, were the best in the world, but somehow the people who looked like them and were born of parents that came from the same region weren't smart enough to understand the game, and that was pervasive in the English game. And I don't know if it still exists now, but it certainly did for very, very long periods of time, and that's pretty shocking, isn't it? Because on the one hand, everybody loved watching the West Indies, right? On the other hand, people didn't kind of understand that they understood the game particularly well. I mean, that's incredibly sad, and a massive indictment on the way that people view people of colour, I think.
Well, extremely proud to play for England. I mean, as a kid, I certainly wanted to be an international cricketer. At that time, obviously, your thinking would be West Indies because you were living in the West Indies. I had no idea that it would take me 4,000 miles away in England, but having been selected for England, really it was just a fulfilment of a dream that I had as a kid to play international cricket.
I played against Butch actually in the second team game down at Oxted Cricket Club in Surrey. He was playing second team cricket and I was sort of on my way up and he was sort of moving towards retirement. And I think I might have got him out, I'm not entirely sure. But I do remember sort of, you know, thinking at the time that it was terrific to see a black guy playing for England.
At the time, obviously, playing, you just want to do well. You're not really thinking about anything beyond that. It was much later that you really understood the significance of being the first black player to play for England, how it inspired others like Devon Malcolm and Chris Lewis, etc. to follow. And yeah, so I feel very proud to have been able to do that.
You know, to walk in the changing room at Lord's and look on the honours board and see Devon Malcolm up there is quite an honour, really.
I mean, Norman Collins, another of my teammates here at Middlesex, I think when I got selected for England, you know, it really inspired Norman because Norman actually wrote to me in the England team and he just sort of wrote a letter to Roland Butcher, care of the England team, and you know, how pleased he was and inspired, and eventually, you know, he became a Middlesex player and an England player. So, you know, lots of players like that believe that me making the breakthrough really opened the doors for them because they felt, well, if Roland Butcher can do it, I can do it. He's no different to myself, so it inspired them in that way.
Well, the first one I think was against Sri Lanka in 2002. We'd a bit of a backs to the wall sort of thing. We're looking to try and draw the game. So it wasn't the most exciting of innings, and I ended up getting run out. Me and my Surrey teammate Graham Thorpe contrived to kind of to end up with me being run out while we're trying to save a game. But you know, in the end, we'd done enough. So that was a lovely moment. Obviously, the first time your name goes up on the board, and there's a little bit of cricketing immortality there.
That'll do. Mark Butcher through to his 100, his fourth in Test cricket.
The Zimbabwe knock, early seasons, pitch was nibbling. You know, it sounded like it must have been a doddle, but it kind of wasn't. But by the end of it, I was playing unbelievably fluently and really having a great time out there. So it was kind of one of you know, a sort of a special memory, a lovely innings I thought at the time.
That's it. Butcher's through for his 100. He's second at Lord's. He's seventh for England. And he's second in 2003. And he's got three figures again here at Lord's.
Jafra is, you know, very special. He's a very quick bowler. The way he started his career here, his international career against Australia a few years ago was just phenomenal.
Given this time, his first Test wicket, Jafra Archer.
With the amount of pace he produces from what you look like a very economical action, you know. He'll bother a lot of batsmen, and you need extra pace in your team.
As cricketers, you always want to win a game for your team, and it was an important game for us. You know, we had to win to go to the #1 spot in the world.
Edged and Smith. Once again, Philander does it.
I was fortunate enough to pick up 5 here at Lord's, but yeah, I really wanted to leave my mark. You know, as I said, and fortunately for me, I got 5.
Edged. There it is. South Africa have won. They've won this match, they've won the series.
Yeah, exactly. I remember the first time I got into Lord's, I was awestruck. I mean, just walking up the stairs and looking at all the paintings of all the great players that have come. It brings back that hunger and I guess that true fellowship of the game.
Given him! And that is 5 for Kagiso Rabada.
That's what I enjoy about it, and yeah, the honours board, you know, is the icing on the cake.
But especially so from Kagiso Rabada, who looks up to the dressing room and says, "Get my name up right now."
I think as a South African, I know the DNA is always to play hard. The way Rabada set the tone from day one, there was an intensity created by him. And almost saying and sending a message clearly to the opposition batsmen and say, we don't care how you play.
Fantastic. Growing up, obviously, you know, watching West Indies play when they tour England, you hear about Lord's, the home of cricket. Getting the opportunity to play, you know, international cricket here before, club matches, county matches, you know, as well, and now being able to call it my home, you know, for the last couple of weeks or so. I think it's a feather in the cap there for myself. My family, you know, they have been out here as well. They came out, they keep supporting. I get the opportunity to just be here. So, it has been fantastic, words can't describe, the feeling as a young cricketer wanting to come, travel the world and being able to play. I've been given this opportunity and I've taken it with both hands. So, long may it continue. 603. I think there's a lot of matches. That's a lot of warm-ups, a lot of team talks, a lot of fitness. But once the body keeps right, I'm going to continue. So let's see how far it takes us.
I mean, I think it's important to see diversity in all aspects of our life, not just in cricket. I mean, cricket is something that you want it to happen. It's very topical right now for the obvious reasons. But I think in life, diversity for me, and research has shown that diverse teams outperform teams that are not diverse.
And this is what you're always looking for when it comes to any kind of minorities. You get to the point where it's so commonplace that you don't consider it as being unusual anymore.
We were very fortunate 70s, 80s and 90s that I played in a very diverse Middlesex team that contained 5 black players from South Africa, from India, all over the world. And I think it's because of that diversity that we became such a powerhouse in that period of time. So diversity is extremely important, and I believe that people must understand that diversity doesn't mean lowering the standard. In many cases, it's upping the standard.
But for a while there, it seemed to the outside world and to the wider public that the black guys, the guys who were born in the Caribbean, the guys who might not have been born in England, then the guys of second generation who were born to West Indian parents here in the UK were very much part of the fabric of the game.
You can't be it if you can't see it. I think the diversity and the inclusion that the tournament promotes is one for young children, persons of all races, all classes, can look on the field and see superstars, and a lot of the time resonate with stories from at least one or two of the players on the field.
I think that's fantastic. That's what you want. In cricket, you want people interacting. You want people from different backgrounds. You want different leagues, different, sort of elite level guys playing with the lower level ones in order to keep the sport, at a certain level. So people from all over the world coming together and playing. I think these things are fantastic.
I think it's a matter of actually plowing back into those communities and really promoting the sport and wanting to see more talent come through. I think for me, at the end of the day, it's about you want to put the carpet out there, for everyone to partake in the sport.
That will resonate with someone, that will inspire someone. Hopefully, we could inspire some kids who may be feeling as though they can't make it. They can look at a success story and think, I want to be that person.